What's up, everybody? As you can see, I am not in my usual studio. I'm actually on the road this week, but I decided for this very special episode of the podcast, I will discuss all my most anticipated movies and TV shows coming out for the remainder of the year. So sit back, relax, and let's talk about some movies and shows and stuff. Let's get to it. Talking Talk Podshowcast coming at ya. Hey there, everybody. Thank you once again for tuning in to the Talking Talk Podshowcast, your unofficial weekly pop culture podcast where I talk about the latest stuff in pop culture movie news, TV shows, collectibles, what have you. I just talk about a lot of stuff, and hopefully you guys like it. I am your host, Renee, and as you can see, and as I mentioned at the top, I am not in my usual studio. I'm actually on the road. I'm in Beacon, New York, or Fishkills, as they call it, at least where the hotel is. I'm actually here to attend my niece's wedding. So I'm very excited to do that this weekend. But like I said, this is a special episode where I'm just going to talk about the movies that I'm really looking forward to and TV shows that I'm really looking forward to watching for the rest of the year. This really all came about when I was watching Netflix's To Doom special event last weekend, and they displayed a lot of new stuff that's coming out, and it totally reminded me. I was like, wait, there are a lot of things coming out towards the end of the year. So I looked at my list and I looked at the release dates and all that. And movies alone, there are about 25 to 26 movies that I'm actually looking forward to for the next 3 months. So that is insane. So decided let's do a special show where we talk about that. On top of that, there are some shows that I am looking forward to checking out towards the end of the year. So before I get into all that stuff, the usual YouTube spiel. If you're watching here on YouTube and you're new to the channel, welcome. Please hit that like and subscribe if you like what you see. Spread the word. Let's build up this community of pop culture enthusiasts like myself. For those listening on audio form, whether it's through Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, what have you, thank you for listening. If you're new to this, please make sure you follow and download those episodes. I actually hit a milestone this past week as I was looking at some of the stats. Now, it's been about a little over a month or about a month since I restarted the podcast and I switched providers. I used to host all the episodes myself. Then I teamed up with Anchor and decided to run the show through them and the channel through them. And I broke 100 plays and 100 downloads this past week. So again, thank you for all of the support. Really appreciate it. And I hope you guys enjoy what you've been hearing. And hopefully we could keep this ball rolling moving forward. So really, really totally appreciate that. And like I said, before in previous episodes, the podcast platform is actually very important because if we could really hit things off there, that leads to potential collaborations later on down the line and advertisers and sponsorships, which will help the channel grow and I can do more things. This is the first time I decided to actually do some sort of production while I'm away. So it took a little time to set things up. Getting the lighting and audio all correct is quite challenging. And hopefully it comes out quite fine, because in the future I am planning to do a lot of remote stuff, hopefully, and if it all works out, then that'll be great for everyone here. So thank you again for all the support, and for all of you that are watching or listening that I never hear from. In the biz, we call them lurkers. Don't take that as a negative term. I appreciate all of you guys, and it's very easy to come across a video or a channel on YouTube or on podcast form you watch, you listen, and then you just move on, right? And maybe you come back and you continue watching and you continue listening. So for all of you guys there that I never hear from, thank you again for all of your support. So when it comes to movies, let's start off with movies coming out for the rest of the year, and I'll break it down by month. So October is already starting things huge. By the time you are listening or watching this, we already have two movies from this list that came out. And that is Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, and The Many Saints of Newark. So the first Venom movie I thought was okay. I think it was very mixed as far as the audience is concerned. A lot of people thought it was kind of cheesy and kind of comical in a lot of different ways. I actually appreciated the movie for the chemistry and relationship between Tom Hardy's Eddie and Venom. Like, I think the dynamic they had and the kind of conversations they were having between each other was actually pretty fascinating, and I kind of like that. So I am curious to see how that's going to play out in the next movie. We have Woody Harrelson now, who's playing the role of Carnage in this movie. So I'm curious to see how, now that Venom is actually faced with a formidable opponent, how's that going to play out? So I'm a little curious because when I checked the runtime for that movie, it's about an hour and a half. Really short in these days. Like, you don't really see movies that short anymore. So very curious to see how that's going to play out. And of course, I am very much looking forward to The Many Saints of Newark. That is supposed to be the prequel to The Sopranos HBO TV series. Now, in prep for this movie, I actually went back and I rewatched the entire series from the first episode to the final. And I think I did it in record time. I think I did it within 3 weeks. It was a weird moment. And this happened like a couple of months ago. But rewatching it now at my age compared to when I was watching it back when it was still freshly new, I have a very different point of view of the series, and I actually appreciate a lot of the episodes that I actually didn't like back then. So I feel like I am more connected to the storyline. I'm more connected to the characters. There are a lot of episodes that are very important and actually have really great storytelling moments that I didn't really appreciate back then. And again, as the years gone by, my taste in movies and TV shows have changed a lot, and I understand a lot more things than I did when I was younger. So I really definitely appreciate a lot of things more now. So the rewatch, I definitely benefited from the rewatch, and I encourage all you guys who are curious or who has never watched Sopranos ever to give it a shot and rewatch the series, because it's a wonderful TV show. It's, a lot of people forget, it is the first series that really started the whole streaming exclusive TV series. Because you're talking about a show that came out in like 98, 99. And alongside with that, you had Sex and the City. But Sopranos really, really kind of started the whole genre of content or shows where you're actually rooting for the bad guy. You have Tony Soprano, who is really unliked if you really think about character-wise, right? He is a mafia gangster. He's killed people. He's done a lot of bad things. He lies to his family. But at the core, even though he does all those things, you see the love that he has for his family. And the things that he does is really primarily for his family. So you kind of root for the anti-hero, so to speak, and you kind of want to see things work out, but at the same time you probably hate a lot of the things that he does. So it was the first time that we were exposed to such a show. And then from there you had Breaking Bad, Dexter, that kind of copied that same type of formula, but of course executed in different ways. But Sopranos is the one show that really started that whole genre, so to speak. So really looking forward to see how that's going to play out. Plus, having the son of James Gandolfini playing Tony Soprano, I am so excited to see how that's going to play out because he looks so much like his dad. And I think it's going to be a pretty epic movie. Fingers crossed. But moving on, we finally get No Time to Die, the James Bond movie, the last movie that Daniel Craig is going to be involved in. This has been pushed back numerous times. And I think we've all been dying to see how this final installment of the Craig Bond series is going to play out. The trailers, they look phenomenal. So I am definitely excited to see how this is going to work. And to see, if Daniel Craig can really pull off a final film in his series, because the last one wasn't really that great. And my biggest criticism of the last movie before that, um, I felt like he really dialed it in. And it was kind of boring at times. So I hope, despite all the controversy about him not really wanting to do this anymore and how he was asking for so much money or what have you, I hope all that can be put aside and we just get left with a very solid, exciting James Bond movie. Moving forward, we have one of two Ridley Scott movies that are coming out at the end of the year, and one of two that actually stars Adam Driver. Adam Driver is going to be busy for the remainder of the year. He has three big movies coming out. But here we get first The Last Duel, which is, like I said, directed by Ridley Scott. It's about a woman who claims that she's been raped by her husband's best friend. But when no one believes her accusations, her husband challenges his friend to a duel. And it was allegedly the last legally sanctioned duel in France's history. So a very interesting premise, and it's a pretty big cast too. You have, like I mentioned, Adam Driver, you have Matt Damon, you have Ben Affleck, and then you have Jodie Comer in there as well. So this is going to be really interesting to see this period piece from Ridley Scott. And from what I've seen and from what I've heard from people who've seen it in some of the festivals that that played out throughout the year, it's something to watch. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Then, of course, probably one of two of my most anticipated movies for the year, and that is Dune. We finally get to see Dune. Denis Villeneuve, as I've mentioned numerous times, one of the most visual directors that we have today. Another full star-studded cast here. It's already been playing internationally for the last week or two, and I've heard nothing but great things. As of the recording of this show, internationally, box office wise, it's already pulled in over $70 million for something that came out during a pandemic. That's huge, and it hasn't even hit the US yet. So 100% fully excited for this movie. Can't wait to see it finally coming out at the end of October. And then we have the latest from Edgar Wright, and that is Last Night in Soho. It's kind of like a horror thriller mystery type of movie. It stars Anya Taylor-Joy, who I've mentioned before is my future ex-wife. I really enjoyed her in Queen's Gambit and some of the other movies that she's been involved in. I'm a huge Edgar Wright fan, and I can't wait to see how this movie is going to play out. It looks thrilling and scary at times. I am very much interested how they're going to play the whole time jump kind of scenario, and how this person is going to try to solve a murder that happened in the past and confronting the person who may be involved in it. Again, these are all the things that you kind of gather through the trailer. So really interested to see how this movie is going to play out. So very excited for that. And then this is probably one of my other most anticipated movies, not the top one, and I'll get to that in a bit, but The French Dispatch. That is the latest from Wes Anderson, who is probably one of my top three favorite directors today. If you're familiar with Wes Anderson, his movies are very quirky, very stylish and artistic, very interesting storylines. Always have a full star-studded cast there, and this is pretty much up there with a lot of his other movies. Very, very excited and curious to see how this is. Again, great word of mouth from the film festivals and the circuit that's been going on throughout the year. So really, really excited to see this movie. And then lastly, this is probably on the list of my most curious film that I'm going to be watching for the rest of the year, and that's Lamb. It's the latest from. It's another movie from A24, and it is a thriller, kind of horrorish movie, depending on how you look at it, about a couple in Iceland who apparently gives birth to a half human, half lamb person thing, something. And it looks ridiculous. And it looks quirky, and I don't know, it just looks freaking out there. And if you're again A24, what else do you expect, right? So I am so curious about this movie. I'm sure it's gonna be batty, and I'm all in. I'm all in. So that's just October. Now let's move into November. November. On Netflix, we have The Harder They Fall, which is a Western movie with an all black cast. You have Idris Elba, Regina King, Zazie Beetz, Lakeith Stanfield. I mean, this is a full star-studded cast, and it looks exciting. It looks, very entertaining. They did show clips of it at the To Doom event that Netflix had, and I am so excited for this. I just hope it doesn't become one of those other westerns that came up with this type of cast in the past, where it was just very cheesy and corny. This looks very promising, and again, you have really like top A-list actors and actresses in this movie, so I am all in here. I really can't wait to check this out. It helps that it's on Netflix so that it gets more eyes on it, and hopefully it could be something huge. So very much looking forward to that when it comes out. Next on the list, and again, another Netflix movie, we have Red Notice. Here you have an action movie that teams up The Rock, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot. And again, I got hyped about this movie when I saw the clips that they showed during To Doom, and it looks like a lot of fun. First time we get a movie with these three action stars in it, and it looks like, I don't know if it's gonna play out as like a buddy thing versus a singular person, because the clip that we saw kind of showed that you had Ryan Reynolds and The Rock teaming up, looking like they're trying to acquire some sort of artifact, and Gal Gadot stands in their way. So very interested to see how that's going to play out. A lot of fight scenes in there, at least from the clip that we saw. So I'm pretty much excited to check that out. Keeping on the Netflix train here, we have Bruised, which is a movie with Halle Berry. This is actually Halle Berry's directorial debut. It's about, it looks like it's just about an MMA fighter who happens to also be a mom and trying to make her way in the ranks of MMA. Looks exciting. I don't know if it's going to play out like $1 million baby kind of thing, but given that it is Halle Berry's directorial debut, I am very curious to see how that's going to play out. So definitely something I'm going to watch. Then we have The Eternals, the latest from Marvel and Disney. This is a big unknown for a lot of people, because not a lot of people are familiar with the Eternals and those type of storylines from the comics. So given where we are currently in this phase of Marvel movies, very curious and excited to see what's going to transpire in this movie. What are they going to reveal? How is this team going to relate and play out for the remainder of this current phase and moving forward? So, look, I'm a huge Marvel fan. I'm a huge fan of these Marvel movies. I know a lot of people are along the same side with me. Some aren't, but I am very curious to see how this is going to, come out, because again, just like Guardians of the Galaxy, not a lot of people really know anything about this group of people. So we could be treated to another Guardians type of movie here where after watching it, we may end up really falling in love with this group. Um, Again, when you have a star-studded cast that has Selma Hayek and Angelina Jolie in it, I mean, that's huge, right? Um, are we going to see more stuff from them? Who knows? But again, this is going to be a pretty important movie, I think, with the Marvel Universe moving forward. Then we have a movie called Belfast, which is a movie by Kenneth Branagh. And the reason why this made it on my list is because of the word of mouth coming out of the film festivals. Um, New York Film Festival is currently happening as of the taping of this. I'm very disappointed I couldn't attend this year. But everyone it has nothing but great things to say about this movie. The movie basically is a semi-autobiographical film which chronicles the life of a working class family and their young son's childhood during the turmoil of the late 1960s in the Northern Ireland capital. Um, the cast is not very well known at all. It's black and white. But if you're familiar with Kenneth Branagh, he is a brilliant director, and I am very. My curiosity peaked after I've been reading a lot of the word coming out of the film festivals about the screenings of this movie. So I am very curious and interested to see this movie because of all that. Next, we have, I would probably say yes. I'm going to claim it right now. This is my number one anticipated movie for the year because of a huge fan of the franchise, and that is Ghostbusters Afterlife. Ghostbusters Afterlife finally comes out, and ever since the first Ghostbusters came out, I became an instant fan of the series, the franchise, the property, right? It played very well to my childhood because of, the possibilities of being a hunter for ghosts or what have you, and trapping ghosts, and the cast was phenomenal, and I'm a huge Bill Murray fan, and that kind of started me, falling in love with Bill Murray as an actor. Um, and just the chemistry you have with everyone in there. Then, later on down the line, they had the comic books, the animated series, which is beloved by many, including myself, the toys, the paraphernalia. You know, when the Ghostbusters movie that had the full female cast came out, everyone that I knew were pretty much disappointed. Not because it was a bad movie. Well, I take that back. It was a pretty bad movie, but it had the cast had nothing to do with it. I think they tried their best with what they had. My disappointment was just the writing in general, the direction, and the way they teased the movie. They teased the movie as if it was part of the same universe and possibly a continuation of the universe, but instead they kind of decided to just rework everything. And the cameos from the original cast playing different characters, it just threw me completely off. Probably the only good thing about that movie was Chris Hemsworth because he was hilarious. But this is a proper sequel to the universe. The Reitmans are still involved in it. You have Jason Reitman, the son of Ivan Reitman, who is directing. Father and son were there during the majority of filming. When CinemaCon happened a couple of months ago, they had a surprise screening for everyone in attendance, and everyone was gushing over it. So I am so excited for this. I hope I'm not going to be disappointed. I'm trying to keep my expectations in check, but still, this is probably my number one most anticipated movie of the year. And then you have King Richard, which is the latest by starring Will Smith. It is, I guess you could call it an autobiographical movie about the Williams sisters, Venus and Serena, and them growing up, and about their dad, basically, and how he handled their training and their rise to stardom and all that. Um, this is not going to be one of those movies where it shows that the dad was bad, not like a Tiger Woods father kind of scenario. I've heard that he was actually very supportive and very key, an integral part of getting them out there and getting them in front of people and getting them trained properly and getting them out of their situation to be the stars that they become. So this could be one of those heartfelt moment type of movies, kind of like uplifting. So something that I am very curious about, and I will definitely check it out. Then you have House of Gucci. House of Gucci is just from the trailers alone, very stylish. You have Adam Driver, you have Lady Gaga, and this is the second of the Ridley Scott movies. You have him involved. I am so down for this movie. I mean, just looking at the chemistry that they both have together, in the trailers, in the photos, and all that. Oh my gosh, I really honestly cannot wait for this. It's a movie about the Gucci's, basically how these fashion superstars came to be and the tragedy that was involved in the controversy and all that. So very curious for this movie. Can't wait to check it out. And last on my list here, we have Licorice Pizza. I know it's a weird title, but it's the latest from Paul Thomas Anderson. It's a movie about a child actor coming of age in California's San Fernando Valley in the 1970s. Bradley Cooper is in this movie. You have Maya Rudolph, Sean Penn, Alana Haim, who makes her film debut, and another, I think it's his debut, but we have Cooper Hoffman. And if the name sounds somewhat familiar, it is the son of Philip Seymour Hoffman. And Philip Seymour Hoffman is no stranger to Paul Thomas Anderson films. So I am very curious to see how his son's going to do in this movie. He looks great. I mean, you can kind of see the resemblance there. So you can kind of see that it's definitely his son. So very excited to see this. When it comes to PTA, I am kind of mixed. Inherent Vice, I wasn't a huge fan of, and there are some other movies recently that I wasn't a huge fan of. So he's like hit or miss for me, and I feel like that is the sense a lot of people have with his movies in the past. So, but this looks pretty interesting. I love the period. I'm always a huge fan of the 70s and things that happened in the 70s. So very curious to see how this movie is, and I am definitely looking forward to checking it out. All right, as if that wasn't enough, okay? Now we have December. December is also looking pretty stacked here. So, first we have The Power of the Dog. That is another Netflix movie. And for a lot of people within the film fandom, the movie fandom world, a lot of the cinephiles out there, this is a very highly anticipated movie. The movie is directed by Jane Campion. Again, another movie that has great word of mouth coming out of the film festivals that are happening throughout the year. It stars Benedict Cumberbatch, Kirsten Dunst, Jesse Plemons, Elizabeth Moss, just to name a few. It's a movie about a domineering rancher who responds with mocking cruelty when his brother brings home a new wife and her son until the unexpected comes to pass. That is the description that they give you here for this movie. It's another period type of piece. It looks like another Western here. Modern Western, so to speak, but it looks very interesting. So something that I think a lot of people are going to have their eyes on, especially now that, what you have to realize is that, and again, if you're not familiar with how the movie industry works, or if you're not a huge film buff or what have you, this is fourth quarter of the year. It's the end of the year. This is the big push for Oscar season for next year. So a lot of the movies that I have already mentioned or I will continue to mention, they're all vying for a part to be nominated in next year's Oscars. So we have a lot of heavy contenders coming out now. That's another reason why it's fully stacked for the last 3 months of the year. So a lot of stuff to look out for, a lot of potential best actor, actress nominees, directors, what have you. So this is one of those movies that is probably going to be in contention for several of those categories. So very looking forward to see how this movie is going to come out. Next, a very controversial movie, and probably the most controversial movie on my list for the remainder of the year, and that's Vendetta. Now, the reason why this movie made my list is, again, word of mouth coming out of actually the New York Film Festival. There were tons of people who were actually outside protesting this movie because of the subject matter. And it's being directed by Paul Verhoeven. When was the last time you heard of Paul Verhoeven? You know, this is the director who was responsible for movies like Basic Instinct, Total Recall, Showgirls, Starship Troopers, RoboCop. I believe the last movie he directed was Ellie, I don't know how you pronounce that came out in 2016. So very interesting movie, and again, the controversy stems from the subject matter. And based on the description here, a 17th century nun becomes entangled in a forbidden lesbian affair, but it's her shocking religious visions that threaten to shake the church to its very core. So I guess just reading that, you can understand the controversy there and why there would be a lot of people in the Catholic Church religion who would be probably against this movie, right? I saw film and video of all the protesters outside of Lincoln Center because of this movie during the screening. However, word of mouth, the movie is very jarring and very Paul Verhoeven-ish, but definitely worth watching. So my curiosity definitely piqued because of that. So that is something to look forward to and look out for. Next, we have West Side Story. Now, out of all the musicals that we are getting this year, or that we got, when I say all, the three musicals, right? We had In the Heights, that came out during the summer or just before the summer. Dear Evan Hansen, which I really don't want to talk about anymore. I'm done with that movie. Then we have West Side Story. I would say that this is probably one of the more curious ones because it's Steven Spielberg. It's his take on the classic. And a lot of people were up in arms when this was first announced a ways back. Then we started seeing photos and the cast, and then there was more controversy about that. Whether you like him or not, Ansel Elgort is kind of controversial at the moment. So again, curiosity has been piqued ever since this was announced. So I'm very curious to see how this is going to be. I do love the fact that Rita Moreno is still part of this. She's going to be in this movie. I was a huge fan of the original. Many of you are. It's definitely one of those where you would think, which of these movies should just not be touched anymore? This is definitely one of them. So I am very curious because mainly it's Spielberg, right? Spielberg has not done a musical ever. So I'm curious, is it going to work? Is this going to be an epic opus? Who knows, right? So very, very curious to see how this is going to play out. It's going to be interesting for sure, to say the least. Then we have Netflix is really coming out of the gate here with a lot of stuff. They have a huge amount of movies, and this might be one of their bigger ones, and that's Don't Look Up. It's the latest movie by Adam McKay, directed by Adam McKay. You know, he's done American Hustle, he's done Vice, The Big Short. I love his style of movies, and this movie looks like another interesting one. in recent history, because he's done The Big Short and Vice, this is something that's not tied to anything that has happened in real life, um, or not tied to any like real events. It's a movie basically about a meteor coming down to hit Earth. And you have these group of people who are trying to broadcast and put the word out there to warn everybody, right? So the one thing that I love about this movie, or that's got me really interested in this movie, is the cast. You have Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Timothy Chalamet, Jonah Hill, Chris Evans, Meryl Streep, Kate Blanchett, and you have the acting debuts of Ariana Grande and Kid Cudi. Like, what? How did they get this cast? How is this really gonna work chemistry wise with all of these big names in this one movie? If anyone can do it, it's Adam McKay. I mean, he's had star-studded casts in his past movies. So very, very fascinated about this movie, and it's going to be interesting to see. And again, this is a Netflix movie, so whether or not you like these movies that are coming out on Netflix, I think this is very comparable to like when Scorsese put out The Irishman. Is this going to be this year's Irishman? We'll see, right? But that's why it's on my list, because I'm very curious to check it out. Next, of course, a lot of people's most anticipated movie for the remainder of the year, and that's Spider-Man No Way Home. Spider-Man No Way Home comes out in December. The latest in the Spider-Man series. Again, this continues within the Marvel Universe. Now that we have been fully exposed to the multiverse, now that that floodgate has been open, and based on the trailers, this is definitely going to play into that. The trailer, when it first came out, broke all the types of internet records and viewing records and all that. We have Alfred Molina returning as Dr. Octopus. Potentially, we have William Dafoe's Green Goblin in here. Who knows if we're going to get Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in here. Rumors are swirling all over the place. We are supposed to get Jamie Foxx's Electro. We're supposed to be getting that, from what we've heard, the rumors that were somewhat confirmed by him ways back, But we have Tom Holland, we have Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch in here, and something goes off and it continues immediately, from what it seems, from the last Spider-Man movie. So a lot of speculation from this movie. A lot of people are excited. A lot of the Marvel heads and Spider-Man heads are eagerly anticipating this movie. So how can you not be excited for this movie, right? So definitely looking forward to checking that out in this stacked December, because we are also getting Nightmare Alley, and that is the latest from Guillermo del Toro. If Denis Villeneuve is one of the most visual directors that we have now, Del Toro is definitely neck and neck with him, because his creativity, his visualizations, the creativity just behind the worlds that he creates and the storylines. I mean, it's phenomenal, the stuff that he's put out there. Shape of Water was fantastic. I know some of you probably don't like it, but I love that movie when it came out. Won Best Picture for that year. So I am super excited for this movie. It's actually a remake or a retelling of another movie that came out a long time ago of the same name. And it looks, from the trailer that we got, it looks like phenomenal. It looks very exciting. And the cast in here, we have Rooney Mara, Kate Blanchett, Bradley Cooper, William Dafoe, Toni Collette, Ron Perlman, of course, because Ron Perlman is in every Del Toro movie. Richard Jenkins in here. It looks very curious and mysterious, in only the best way that Del Toro can be, like, right, in the way that he does his movies. So I'm very interested and looking forward to checking this movie out for sure. Then the movie that is on everyone's mind, whether or not is going to be worth a damn, worth the wait because it's been forever since we got anything from this franchise. And that is The Matrix Resurrections. We were teased with the trailer not too long ago. Um, Internet hype and speculation blew up. Is this a true sequel? Is this another version of The Matrix? Is this the same Neo? Or is this like a download of him? You have Keanu Reeves looking like John Wick. You have Carrie Ann Moss, who still looks amazing and kick ass in this movie. Um, there's a lot of speculation as to what is going to be involved in this movie. Is this going to resurrect? Get it? Resurrections? Resurrect a franchise so that we could probably possibly get more from this franchise after this huge ass long hiatus. The last movie disappointed a lot of people, and it pretty much killed the franchise as a whole. Yeah, you got the video games and the massive multiplayer online game that kind of carried things on, or at least tried to carry things on for a bit, but we have not gotten anything from this. So it is going to be very, very interesting to see how this movie is gonna how people are going to react to this movie when it finally comes out. So definitely on my list to check out. Then you got The Kingsman, which is a prequel to the Kingsman movie franchise. So the first movie was phenomenal, was great. The second one was not that hot. So very, very interested to see how this movie is going to play out. So it looks like a very typical Matt Vaughn movie, very stylish, action packed. So let's see how this movie turns out, because again, the reception for the last one was pretty poor. I didn't really like it. I felt it was boring at times. So let's see. Let's see what happens. Then last on my list for the month of December, as if, again, I don't have enough to watch, The Tragedy of Macbeth. The Tragedy of Macbeth is from Joel Cohen of the Coen brothers. This is the first time a movie is being directed by a Coen brother without the other one's involvement. So this is going to be interesting to see how that works. But it's your typical Shakespeare telling of Macbeth, right? But it looks very stylish, black and white. You have a great cast that already stars Denzel Washington and Frances McDormand. You also have Corey Hawkins in it. And basically, it's just a retelling of Macbeth. The reason why this also made my list is, again, because of word of mouth coming out of New York Film Festival. People were, raving about it after their screening. Again, it's a shame I couldn't go this year, because I've been going almost every year since 2012, and this is the first time I missed it. So I am very envious of everyone who got to see a lot of these movies, but great word of mouth. Everyone's saying that it's definitely worth watching. Might be movie of the year for some people. Definitely going to be an Oscar contender. So highly anticipated for most people, and definitely on my list to check out for the rest of the year and for the month of December. So that's it. Those are all the movies coming out for the rest of the year. So let me know in the comments which one of these movies you're looking forward to, that you're planning to watch, that you're eagerly anticipating. I know my list is ridiculous, and probably most of you are not going to be watching these many movies, or most of these movies, probably just a fraction of these movies. But do let me know what sounds interesting to you guys, and let me know in the comments. So those are just the movies, right? Now let's talk about streaming shows. Things that are coming out on streaming that I am looking forward to for the rest of the year. Not as big of a list as the movies, but these are series that will last for several weeks. So there's enough of them to watch for the remainder of the year when they come out, right? So let's talk about October. only two things I'm interested in October. One is on Netflix, and that is The Escape of the Undertaker. Now, why is that on my list? Well, I'm an old school wrestling fan. I used to watch wrestling back in the day. The Undertaker is undoubtedly one of the more popular, if not the most popular, wrestlers in a new modern age. Not going back to the 80s, but really from the 90s. And this plays out kind of like an interactive movie, like an interactive series. Choose your own adventure style, right? I love things like that. Whenever I play games like that, those are the games I usually have the most fun with. I used to be a big fan of the Choose Your Own Adventure books back in the day. So very, very looking forward, very much looking forward to this. Just to have fun. It's just one of those things that I just want to check out for fun purposes. So that's that. And then on Hulu, we have Dope Sick. Dope Sick is a limited series starring Michael Keaton, and very interesting subject matter here. It's basically, from the description, how one company triggered one of the worst drug epidemics in American history. That's the opioid epidemic. You have Michael Keaton, Caitlin Dever is in here, Peter Sarsgaard, just to name a few. It looks extremely fascinating for me. It's a drama limited series. This could be one of the series that might be mostly talked about towards the end of the year. So definitely curious to check this out. Then moving on to November, like I said, October was small, which is fine by me. I have enough to worry about and to watch. November is when things really start to pick up for myself personally. First, again, on Netflix, you have Cowboy Bebop. This is the live action adaptation of the popular anime series. Most of you are probably familiar with this anime because of Cartoon Network and Adult Swim. This was in constant rotation back in the day on Cartoon Network and Adult Swim. I was familiar with it because, again, I am an old school anime fan, and this was definitely one of those animes that I caught wind of early on. And it's very stylish. It's very like cowboy-like bounty hunters that they are, science fiction bounty hunter storyline. John Cho is connected to this, and during the To-Doom event, we finally got a first live motion action first glimpse of it. They pretty much played out the opening credits scenes, and that's when it intrigued me, because when I first saw the photos that they were releasing, I was like, I don't know, this looks kind of ugh. When it comes to adapting live action anime, when it comes to live action adaptations of anime, it's been mostly miss, and it's been very, very poorly done and poorly received. But this one got a lot of people intrigued, myself included. It looks pretty great. For now, let's see how it plays out, but that's why I have to watch it. Then on Amazon Prime, you have, finally, we're getting the Wheel of Time series. Wheel of Time is a beloved fantasy adventure book series. Now we're finally getting a live action adaptation that has been in the works for ages. And I know a lot of people who are huge fans of the Wheel of Time book series, and they've been eagerly anticipating this coming out. We're finally going to get it. Let's see how it is. And then my most anticipated for November is Hawkeye on Disney Plus. We are finally getting a Hawkeye spin-off series. Hawkeye is one of my favorite Marvel characters, maybe my all-time favorite comic book characters. You have Kate Bishop in there, the introduction of the two, and then it looks like it's going to play out like a buddy cop adventure, die-hardish, True Lies type of series storyline there. And I was really excited when the first trailer came out, so I can't wait to check this out. I know a lot of people are kind of iffy on it, but a lot of people were iffy on WandaVision and Loki, and look what happened. Now people can't stop talking about it. So definitely looking forward to this series coming out. And last on my list, and this snuck in there, and that's season 2 of The Tiger King on Netflix. Now, when the first season came out, and again, I'm calling it season, we weren't expecting there to be a continuation of this. It came out during the peak of the pandemic. Most people were locked down in their homes, and there was nothing to do. Then this came out on Netflix, and people were just drawn to it and can't stop talking about it. It was water cooler talk in the virtual age. That's what started things, right? Um, and it was just bananas. Everything that was revealed is bananas. And the way it ended, you have Joe Exotic who's in jail. So people are wondering, like, what else is there to tell? So apparently he might be saying more stuff from jail. Maybe we're going to dive more into things of all the people involved in this crazy, wacky story. So this is more of like a guilty pleasure watch for me. I'm just curious to see what else is going to be revealed here. I don't watch reality shows. This is my reality show. This is my trash TV. So I'm definitely going to be checking this out for sure. Then we have December, and there's only 3 things in December. One that I cannot wait for. Well, let's say 2, right? And one that I still need to watch the first season to be more excited for, all right? So let's go with my second most anticipated for December, and that is the Book of Boba Fett. Huge Star Wars fan. Those of you who know me by now love Star Wars. When this was revealed at the end of Mandalorian season 2, I lost my shit. I really did, because I'm like, yes, not only is Boba Fett back, but we're gonna get a spin-off story about Boba Fett. And I cannot wait, because I feel like we need to know more about this character. Why do so many people love him when we hardly even know anything about him? We got a little bit of a glimpse more in Mandalorian, but this is going to really show us what Boba Fett is made of. And now he's taking over Jabba the Hutt's throne, and probably the whole crime syndicate that's happening on Tatooine with Fennec Chan. Sign me up. I'm in. I can't wait for this. But that's not my most anticipated in December. My most anticipated in December comes at the very end, and that's Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai season 4 on Netflix. Thank you, Netflix, for saving Cobra Kai, because Cobra Kai was exclusive on YouTube Premium, or Red, or whatever they called that stupid defunct premium service that they were trying to do. Sorry, YouTube. I know I'm on you, but it wasn't that great of an idea. But we were treated to the first 2 seasons of Cobra Kai on YouTube, and I was all in from episode 1. I was all in when I heard about it, because growing up, huge Karate Kid fan. I couldn't get enough of those movies. Definitely played well in my childhood. And then to hear that we're going to get a continuation of the storylines now, where they are now, I was all in. Then we got to watch the first 2 seasons, and I know the show is kind of mixed with some people, because you have Johnny Lawrence, who's he's not a likable dude. He's stuck in the 80s. He's racist, misogynist, all that stuff, right? But the more you watch it, the more he becomes the person you want to root for, because he's trying to be better. He's trying to change his place in life. And in a weird twist, Daniel LaRusso, you kind of start hating him. And you kind of start wondering, well, which one was really the bad guy here, right? Because kind of like in Star Wars, each side plays the light and the dark in a way, right? So it's very, very interesting how that played out. I love the kids, the development of the kids. season 2 ended in this crazy daredevil kind of like fight that happened in the school. Then season 3 kicked in, and all this stuff started happening. John Kreese came back, and I was like, what? Like, they're really bringing back the lore of the Karate Kid in here. And that played out phenomenally. Then we had Elizabeth Shue returning as Allie. Then we got to finally like close that circle there. And then end of season 3, we got teased. And I was like, are they really going to go there? They're really going there, aren't they? It looks like we're getting Terry Silver in season 4. Then during To Doom, we got a nice little snippet and a nice little presentation from the kids of Cobra Kai. And we had a little teaser trailer. And yes, it looks like we are getting Terry Silver from Karate Kid 3, who some will say is the main mastermind behind Cobra Kai, and the number 1 to the number 2, who's John Kreese. And I can't wait. I really can't wait. Plus, it looks like you have Johnny Lawrence and Daniel teaming up. Woof! That's going to be exciting. So that is my most anticipated for December. And then lastly, just to mention it, The Witcher Season 2. I have not had a chance yet to watch Season 1 of The Witcher. When that came out, I was extremely busy with my corporate life at the time, so never had the chance to. I've been meaning to catch up on it, so I have at least 2 months to catch up on The Witcher, to check out Season 2, which a lot of people are waiting for. I really, really enjoyed the presentation during To Doom. So it looks really good, and I can't wait to check it out. So that's it, guys. That is everything that I am looking forward to as far as streaming. That is everything that I'm looking forward to for the remainder of the year. When it comes to movies and streaming, what from this list or from anything are you interested in looking forward to? Again, let me know in the comments. But that's the show for this week. I hope you enjoyed this special episode. Again, it feels nice just not to always have to talk about, entertainment news, pop culture news, and what have you. It's a good little break from all that, but that's still gonna happen in future episodes. But for now, that's all we have, or all I have for this week. Again, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Just a quick reminder, for you podcast listeners, don't forget, you could find the Talking Talk Podshowcast on your podcast platform of choice. Make sure you follow and download those episodes for YouTube, or if you are a listener and you want to watch a video version of this show, you can find the LOWKEY GEEK channel on YouTube. And then for those of you watching on YouTube, thank you. Don't forget, smash that like, subscribe if you haven't done so already. And then you could also follow me on social media, Twitter, Facebook, what have you. Great way to ask me questions is through there. And I hope all of you guys enjoy the remainder of your week and weekend. Stay cool, stay classy, stay safe, and I'll catch all of you next week. Peace.